What's going on, guys? Jordan here on July 13th, 2018. It's been a minute since I've done one of these videos, bringing the whiteboard back by popular demand. As much as I love doing those news videos every single day, I can only go so deep into any one particular topic as I'm rolling through 15 to 20 different articles in those videos. And not only that, but sometimes certain things that interest me or that I feel important to share don't get brought up in those videos, or maybe I can't answer questions that I often get. So in this video that I'm bringing back the whiteboard for, I'm going to answer a question that I got from somewhere, can't remember where, it might have been Twitter or Facebook, but this question essentially said, how do you activate your pineal gland? So we're going to answer that here. I'm going to show you some various tips and tricks, methods, and suggestions that I've done that I feel is helpful that you can put into practice to activate your pineal gland. But before we get into those methods, I just want to answer a couple questions to give some background behind all this in case you're new here or new to these topics, because of course there's so many different rabbit holes. You could be very familiar, very privy with certain topics, but have no idea what's going on with other ones. And of course there's so much to unlearn and relearn that it's always good to take it back to square one sometimes. So let's first answer, what the heck is a pineal potato gland? Well, essentially your pineal gland is your third eye. It's a gland that's essentially right in the center of your skull, called the third eye, colloquially, and there is a load of ancient lore, ancient symbology, reference in scriptures and myths and all kinds of writing from our forefathers about this gland. Lots of hints that they put out there about it, but there's so many hints and it's all very esoteric that of course mainstream science still has yet to pick up on a lot of it. So you got to learn this elsewhere. So your pineal gland, being your third eye, it's essentially a crystal transducer in the center of your forehead, in the center of your skull, that connects your physical body to your metaphysical body. So let me explain that a little bit deeper. Your pineal gland has piezoelectric crystals in it. Not only that, but it has its own electromagnetic field. And during certain practices, or when you intake certain substances, or even when especially when you go to sleep, and when you're in heavy REM sleep, deep delta brain waves, your pineal gland will start secreting a molecule called DMT. DMT stands for dimethyltryptamine, sometimes called the spirit molecule. There's a documentary of the same name that outlines that spirit molecule, DMT, very well by Dr. Rick Strassman. I highly suggest you check it out. So your pineal gland, again, let's re-answer that question. What is it? It's a crystal transducer that has its own electric fields, and in particular times, at particular stages of your conscious cycle, it secretes a molecule that will give your consciousness essentially a higher awareness. It'll help you see things differently. And what I like to call the pineal gland is essentially the bridge between your physical or metaphysical self. So when you're essentially, for example, when you're dreaming and your pineal gland secreting a bunch of DMT, you start going into that astral realm. You start being able to play in that cosmic sector, as Dewey B. Larson would call it. Our bodies are in the material sector. Our pineal gland is that bridge that allows us to experience that metaphysical realm, that the Akashic records, that collective consciousness, that quantum vacuum field, if you will. So that's that. And then how will that help me? How will it help you by, quote, activating, whatever this woo-woo stuff is, activating, opening up your pineal gland? Well, in fact, it's not woo-woo, very scientific as I'm describing, and it will help you by being able to connect you to your spiritual self, your spiritual body more so. Because of course, this isn't just a material reality as much as mainstream science wants to tell us it is. It's not materialistic, it's very spiritual in nature. So understanding how your pineal gland works, how to keep it healthy, how to activate that and activate your DNA, well, you're bringing a lot of what you learn in that metaphysical reality down to the physical. You tap into your intuition so much more so. You're able to manifest or create your reality by understanding these aspects about your consciousness. So now that I feel pretty well answered those two things succinctly here, now let's get into these particular methods. So number one, stay away from EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, all of the 3G, 4G, 5G shit around us, all of these Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, iPads, wireless devices. I see people with freaking Bluetooth headphones on their skulls for hours a day, just frying their brains. I can't imagine what Bluetooth speakers, headphones do to us. Always wired, folks, always wired. So stay away from EMFs and ground yourself into the earth. All kinds of free-flowing electrons come up into your body when you're actually touching your bare skin into the earth, because that's essentially what we're trying to do here. We're electric beings. We're beings of frequency. So we're getting away from the transverse waves, the frequencies that harm us, and we're trying to get back into the natural frequencies. So getting away from EMFs, getting away from urban settings. And if you live in urban settings, I'm sorry, as fun as the hustle and bustle and the concrete jungle is sometimes, it's just not healthy for us. So living away from all those frequencies, and living away from all those Gwen towers as well, much, much healthier for you. And grounding yourself into the earth. Or, you know, get out camping if you can. Get onto a beach. Get onto just a lawn or the grass or something like that. Try to connect with Mother Gaia. That's where we come from. So let's get back to it. So that's number one. Number two, meditation. And when I say meditation, there's many forms, there's many ways to do it. Often when you think of meditation, you think of just what I call static meditation, where you're sitting there and trying to quiet your mind, empty your thoughts. And that's a great way to do it. You know, if that suits you, if you can, if you feel like static meditation is helping you, great, go for it. I personally don't do it that much. The meditation that I prefer is much more dynamic in nature. It involves more motion. So my meditation, for instance, is athletics. I run, I play soccer, I lift weights, maybe some sorts of Tai Chi or things that involve motion. I mean, heck, even cleaning, even certain kind of robotic chores can be a sort of meditation if you do them the right way and use them to quiet your mind rather than clutter it. So meditation, however that comes for you, and then breathing exercises. So when it comes to breathing exercises, of course, we're so stressed as a society that we breathe from the chest. We breathe in a fight or flight response. So literally training your subconscious to breathe with a much better habitual pattern. You're kind of training your nervous system, building better neural engrams, as they're called. So breathing exercises every day to train you to breathe deeper. Breathing deeper, of course, many things this assists, but it helps to calm down your nervous system, put you into a much more grounded state, and energize your body. Balances those right and left hemispheres. That's kind of the point with number two here. So meditation and breathing exercises. And of course, quick note on meditation as well. There's many different forms of meditation that come from many different people. You can do your Kundalini opening meditations, or your, particular this exercise, that exercise. When it comes to like workouts, exercises, meditations, I don't just like to attach labels on things. This person has their method that they call it this person has this method, they call it this. Great. Absorb what's useful, reject what's useless. Number three, how to activate your pineal gland: nutrition, supplementation, hydration. Absolutely. That's kind of the point, is that if your physical meat suit, if your physical suit body is not performing optimally, is not healthy, well then your spiritual self is going to suffer. In fact, I often like to flip that path. If you have issues spiritually, that channels itself down into your mental body, into your emotional, then into your physical. So if you have anything wrong in your physical body, it's probably a mental or spiritual block that's going on that's not allowing you to get physically healthy. Either you're ignorant about something, or there's shadows within you that you're not facing, overcoming, so you're getting physical issues from that. But anyway, educating yourself, getting your mental mind right about nutrition, hydration, and supplementation, and then actually doing that, that's kind of spiritual process there, putting it into action is crucial. So nutrition, many things to say about that, of course. Now, that's for future videos that I'll get into in this channel, more health stuff. And hydration, I'll make a note on in a sec, but I want to just mention some certain supplements that I add into my routine that I'm familiar with, that I know it's said to open up your nervous system, open up especially your pineal gland a little bit more so. So might want to give some of these a try. I'll go through them really quick. Number one is chaga. Chaga is a medicinal mushroom. So there's a bunch of different mushrooms out there. Of course, mushrooms in general. There's culinary ones you cook with. There's magic mushrooms. We'll actually talk about that in a sec here. You can do for spiritual growth. And then there's medicinal mushrooms. These ones are for your physical health. There's a lot of different ones. Reishi, you might be familiar with. Cordyceps, lion's mane, those are another couple popular ones. Chaga is one, and this one particularly has a very high antioxidant count. And it's so high in antioxidants, it's just very good for your nervous system, very good at opening up your pineal gland. And there's some pigments in chaga mushroom, especially some pre-melatonin pigments. And of course, melatonin is also secreted by your pineal gland and is a cousin of DMT at the molecular level. So if you can get your pineal gland secreting more stuff, which chaga can help do, well, that's going to help turn it on. Then we have ormus, orbitally rearranged monatomic elements, essentially monatomic gold as some people call it. Again, another thing I'll do future videos on because I take this all the time. Although I kind of have to learn a little bit more about it. It's a very complex topic, but what I can quickly say here is that ormus is essentially a form of minerals that you take. I take it in a liquid form, and it just it seriously increases the electrical capacitance of your body. It just fires up your nervous system. And like I said, we're electric beings. That's the point here, is to get ourselves electrically active as possible. So ormus, KLA, Klamath Lake algae, that's what that stands for. You might be familiar with spirulina and chlorella. Those are the more popular superfood algae that are sold in many stores, much easier to get and much cheaper. Klamath Lake algae is similar to those, but it's more expensive because the only place in the world it grows is Klamath Lake in Oregon. And this particular algae, how it's different from those is that Klamath Lake algae can suck in nitrogen from the atmosphere, unlike spirulina and chlorella. So because it can suck in nitrogen from the atmosphere, there are precursors to neurotransmitter hormones in this particular algae. So if you take Klamath Lake algae, boom, it can turn on your nervous system. It's really good for your brain function. It helps activate your pineal gland, also your pituitary gland. Great for all that stuff. Again, it's really expensive, but you're only taking a teensy little bit a day. You don't need much. And then structured water. So water, much again to be said about that. You want to make sure your water is purified. You don't want fluoride in it because, of course, fluoride calcifies around your pineal gland. So make sure it's purified. Reverse osmosis is be what you want, or maybe some kind of gravity filter to purify it. And then you can energetically enhance your water. So you can structure it, whether you get a vortexer machine, some kind of torsion machine to spin it. You can use crystals as well. This is a particular crystal that can structure the water if you put it under it. So there's many, many ways, and it's definitely not pseudoscience. This is real science, just not what they teach you in school. So there's some helpful, rabbit holes you can go down and research with, suggestions that you can do for nutrition supplementation in water. And then last thing I want to talk about is psychedelic assistance. Now, I'm going to talk about psychedelics here, not in a ridiculing way, not in a joking way. In fact, this is an extremely serious topic that I'll be talking about here. These can be very healing to your spiritual self. So when I say psychedelic assistance, I'm talking about psilocybin, I'm talking about ayahuasca, peyote, San Pedro, DMT, LSD. I don't have that one listed, but you can take that if you wish. And I even wrote cannabis here. Cannabis, I would fit into the psychedelic hallucinogenic category a little bit, but of course there's some key differences with that one, not that we'll get into here. But this is just a list of a few of them. Now, me personally, I have tried ayahuasca once. I've tried psilocybin maybe 7, 8, 9 times. That's all I've done. I've done cannabis, partake in that on and off throughout my life, but I've never done LSD, DMT, peyote, none of those. I just really have no drive to do it. Psilocybin is just about enough for me every 3, 4, 6 months or so, when life just gets really, really tough, my ego needs a good rebalance, a good ground, then boom, sometimes I might partake in a psychedelic ceremony. Now again, these, I believe, have a lot of vilification, these particular substances, but again, I also believe that a lot of people do them very wrong. They can be very harmful to yourself if you do them in a bad environment or a bad situation, or if you don't go into it fully aware of what you're getting into. Might open you up for some negative occurrences, whether you have a physical reaction or whether you have maybe a spiritual reaction. You might be inviting certain entities to attach to your etheric self that you don't want. So again, go into any kind of experience with all of this with full knowledge of what you're doing, with full self-awareness of why you're doing it. That's the biggest one. And again, they're just assistance. You see, the reason I wrote down assistance here is because of this conversation I want to get into, the conversation of endogenous versus exogenous DMT production. Because again, DMT coming from your pineal gland, what we're doing is just trying to get your brain, your body producing its own DMT. The point of this existence is to not become dependent on what our ego really, really likes. And that's kind of why I say delve into category number 4 very carefully, because these are external substances we're taking. That's the difference between endogenous and exogenous. Endogenous means your body is producing its own, whatever it is, DMT, some certain kind of hormone, whatever it is. Endogenous means you're producing it on your own. Exogenous means you're taking an external source of something that your body's using to produce. You see, we don't want that. We don't want to focus on any kind of external anything. We want it all to come internally within us, right? They say, look within. God's within. It's all within. And that's what we need to try to do here, is do various kinds of meditations, breathing exercises, eat really well, ground yourself, getting away from the EMFs. These are all producing endogenous DMT. Psychedelic assistance, not so much. Now, that doesn't mean don't do them. That means, well, yeah, maybe I'm going to partake once or twice. I'm going to let the experience take me. I myself, me personally, I'm all about experience. It's a great teacher. Nothing is going to teach you better than experiencing something. So I am actually all for people experiencing all of these that they feel called to do. I honestly think a lot of people need to experience these, but have that experience teach you, and then get yourself to a point where, heck, you can evolve past any kind of substance and be grounded enough, healthy enough, in tune enough with your spiritual self to be able to activate your pineal gland, activate your DNA whenever the heck you want to. So anyway, that is about it for this video. Why your pineal gland is important, what the heck it even is, and a bunch of great ways to activate it. I'll be talking to you guys soon. Peace. Deuce.